And welcome back to Omen, Exitio, Plague. Bad things happened. And more bad things are gonna happen. The Curious History of a Diary. You nervously walk towards command, and you can't help wonder if perhaps you have been summoned so as to be discharged. The officers await you in a room with rather Spartan furnishings. There is a desk almost exactly in the center, and various African trophies hanging on the wall. Please, Huntington, have a seat. Mr. Huntington, you've stood out both during the action and as a medic. As such, we've decided to award you with a commendation and a medal for bravery and skill in battle. You're surprised. You would never have expected this. You know what? Ryan died because of us. I don't think we deserve this. You're surprised. You would never have expected this. You warmly thank the officers, but you still venture the request for indefinite leave, making your intentions of resuming your civilian life known. The three men stay silent for an instant, then begin exchanging opinions. If this is your request, we feel bound to honor it. We'll organize it so that you can leave for London today with a place in an officer's cabin. We hope that someday you'll choose to offer your services once again to the British Army. Okay. Cool. Medal of Valor. Yay! We received that. Okay. Go back. You take your leave and return to the barracks to pack for your impending departure. You glance at your comrades' cots, both of the men you leave behind and those you'll have to leave now. You close your fists around your backpack straps and take a deep breath. It's time to go back to London. You say goodbye to Ed with a hug. The Irishman won't stop singing or slapping you on the back. He's not drunk, but he behaves as if he were. His eyes are wet with the emotions of the moment. Who's going to stitch up my guts now that you're leaving, huh, Doc? Don't be silly, O'Bannon. You're not a child anymore. You're perfectly capable of looking after yourself when you're not overflowing with booze. Hello, Knutson! How do peg legs? I would never be able to stand up. I would be a turtle on its back. That's what would happen to me. Oh my god. A young soldier laughs and offers you one of his faithful whiskey bottles with a wide grin on his face. This is the last one. The last one? Seriously? You're surprised. The Irishman nods again, then sits next to you on top of the crate filled with provisions. And toast to the Italian. I'll sing about him and his food when I'm back home. You take a big gulp, hoping Ed too will be able to return home soon. Although the army generally reduces the appearance of age differences, you know that he is still just a boy. You make your way towards the harbor, trying to set aside your worries for him. Your mind flies to London, your hometown you will soon see again. You're climbing on board when you see Smith on the deck. You met his eyes, but the captain stares right through you dully, almost unrecognizable. There is no longer fire in his eyes, as if his determination has given away. Drowned in an ocean of despair, his child's death must have hit him hard. The captain was probably called back to London or granted a period of leave for mourning. A young soldier is tasked with carrying your luggage into the officer's cabin you were given. You choose to spend the time before departure at the ship's deck. You look at Stone Town one last time. You watch the sailors loading the last provisions. The vessel is now ready to leave. At last, the ship is unmoored and set sail, the siren announcing its departure, piercing your eardrums, and the light moaning of the sea greets you once again. There's a long journey ahead of you, and you're going to use that time to collect your thoughts and try to rest after the whirlwind you've just experienced. So the kid, yeah, he died. We could not intervene medically. I don't think we had enough medical skills to intervene. Because it's totally possible that he didn't die. That apparently is an outcome that can happen. Also, are we still gravely injured? Oh, we're fine now. Yes. Okay. You head for your cabin on the officer's deck. It was a spacious room with a bed that looks extremely soft, a desk refined with wood furnishings, and supplied with essentials for writing letters or keeping a journal. Carl did? We both did. We were both like, oh, this kid's gonna fucking die. We saw him and just went, you're dead. As you put away your belongings, your gaze falls to Eric McLand's diary in a pocket of your backpack. The journey could be a good time to read his journal. You look at it for a couple of moments, and then your stomach starts rumbling. You feel hungry and need to eat something, although you could take a look at his diary first. What do we do? I kind of want to read it now. I wish to read now. You start reading from the beginning. Dear Sir, in accordance with the National Service Acts, you are hereby called upon by the British Navy to participate in a mission to the recently acquired territory of Zanzibar in British East Africa. Your experience and abilities are to be placed at the disposal of Lieutenant James Rogers in a small regiment there. The letter continues detailing a scouting mission at McLean, showing a hint of disappointment in his diary. Apparently, he wasn't particularly keen on being called back into service. You read the last sentences on the page, your stomach starts rumbling in earnest. You must eat something or you'll risk fainting. Something you've become fairly well acquainted with recently. You'll resume your reading later. You place the diary in a drawer, then leave your cabin for the mess hall. You sit next to some officers. Smith is in front of you. The captain stays silent all throughout the mealtime. He picks at his food, and although the room is filled with a carefree atmosphere, he visibly isn't in the mood for laughing or joking. As for you, he still can't look you in the eye. You aren't able to get carried away by the soldier's good spirits either. You eat your meal in silence, then the constant feeling that you're being watched. You turn around, but there are too many people, and there's too much noise in the room. You blame your paranoia and force yourself to go back to the celebration after all. Your experience on the field has definitely worn you out, and you probably just need to relax. When the meal is over, you stand and leave the mess hall, but soon afterwards you get a piercing migraine. Cabin. You lie on the bed and in a few seconds you're in a deep sleep. When you open your eyes, it's night. The ship is in turmoil. There is a rough storm you see. A rumbling thunder suddenly booms through your cabin. You hear a faint rustling on the other side of the door as if someone were trying to enter your cabin. Be alert. You lie and wait close to the door listening. Whoever was on the other side has given up their plan of coming in. Maybe it was just a drunk soldier who got in the wrong cabin. You choose to go back to sleep. The night goes on peacefully. The storm which tore the sky apart seems to have settled, and you manage to sleep a little. One more week to the dock of Suez. More than enough time to study Eric's diary. Eric McLand's mission was certainly nightmarish. His description matches your own observations of the situation. A Zanzibar that is controlled only superficially by the British. The pages are filled with his encounters with wild beast-like men and other strange goings-on. It is quite unsettling how you manage to find so many similarities between McLand, for example, describes a scout, someone called Lloyd, who reminds you of your friend Ryan. Both possess similar traits, determined, wise, with a cold-blooded attitude. Both your journals seem to have traveled the same strange and disturbing paths. Eric's arrival in Zanzibar was also upsetting and alienating, as if someone had meticulously arranged everything, like the writer of a performance preparing for the encore. You close the diary, caught up by the sudden anguish. The memories of Africa are still too fresh, and you don't want to relive those moments just yet. You decide to stop reading and continue once you arrive in London. You're admiring the Mediterranean shore from the deck of the ship. You have just passed the Aden Gulf, and now you are headed towards the Red Sea. The clear skies lets you enjoy the wonderful landscape all around your vessel, the sandy earth that blurs in the heat of the sun, and the vegetation warped around by reflecting mirages. You look at these natural wonders for some hours before returning to your cabin. You're resting on your bed when someone knocks at the door. You can't help but wonder who it might be. When you open the door, you're stunned and surprised. Is it that fuckhead again? Nope, it's just Smith. Captain Smith is in front of you and stares at you with his usual military frown, although you can sense the sadness which he tries to hide. A profound discomfort hits you, and you can't help but think of poor little Scott and the pain he had to suffer. One more innocent victim you couldn't save. Huntington, I want to apologize for my elusive behavior these last few days, but it's not an easy time for me. I thought we could take advantage of this period to discuss what happened in Africa. I believe this will benefit both of us. The captain hesitates for a moment, and you see him grit his teeth. You want to say something, but you don't want it to sound like a justification. Of course, Captain. Smith takes his leave with a military salute, which you return before closing the door. It's clear the captain is holding all his pain inside. He is probably used to repressing his emotions in favor of his cold, yet rational military logic. Yet you're not in the field anymore, and you know he should probably offload these feelings before what's inside him eats him up completely. Finally, the ship's docked in the harbor of Suez to gather supplies for the last part of the journey to London. The quays are filled with people doing all kinds of things, workers carrying huge crates, people preparing to set sail with their fishing boats, drunks already stumbling around in broad daylight. The streets of the town seem to hug the shore, as if they are trying to engulf in a tangled maze made of alleys and secondary streets. You decide that before meeting Smith, you will allow yourself some free time, forgetting to be Jake Huntington, to be just a simple tourist. At the sunset of Suez. Okay, we're at the Suez. Is this the Suez Canal? Probably. Suez is an incredible sight. The canal. It is the canal! Goddamn! Glimmering with the sunlight as if it were beset with precious stones. The shore crowded with boats of every possible kind, flying all sorts of flags, despite being a British protectorate? Oh, that makes sense. The city seems to glory in its cosmopolitan nature, deserving its fame as the crossroads of the Western world. Your senses are struck by the smells and colors of the bazaar. Floating around all the stands covered in goods you've never seen before, you become a willing captive to Suez's charm and uniqueness. You walk the crowded streets and enjoy the lively, cheerful atmosphere of the city's twisting alleyways. You eat the meal you've purchased, a kind of local sandwich whose name you can't remember. You find it tasty, although a bit too spicy. You favor the simplest dishes. The carefree child running from house to house, the street vendors loudly extolling their goods, the bizarrely shaped antiques whose prices make you doubt their authenticity. You spend the remainder of the day resting in your cabin, and when you look out to the docks again, the sun is already painting the famous canal gold. Raising your eyes to the pier, you observe how it is now completely free of the afternoon's hustle and bustle, an almost romantic sight. Captain Smith is waiting for you. He's lighting a match for his pipe, and the sky's soft orange shades glow together before you. Right in time for sunset, Huntington, another day is over. Smith greets you with an unnatural smile, even though you can't remember a time when you saw him smile at all. Walk with me. The streets of Suez look completely different now, without sailors and merchants around. You nod and decide to follow him. After all, you are not allowed to disobey the order of a commanding officer, although a terrible uneasiness claws at your heart when you're in the presence of Smith. You'll never forget Scott's screams and his face clenched in pain. To think that once all of this was nothing but a small providence to the Egyptian rule. The captain's words bring you back to the moment, and you watch him puzzled. Don't look at me like that, Huntington. Do you think my entire life revolves around the army? I have my own interest. History was always fascinating to me, even as a child. His demeanor is worrying you more and more. You're uncertain as to how you should answer him. You just look at him needly. You try to read anything from his expressions, but the captain shows no emotion at all. Simply breathing in another puff from his pipe. His face illuminated by a small lump of smoldering tobacco, when he resumes talking in a calm, steady tone which cuts like a knife. The Egyptians had extremely advanced medical technology. They were experimenters and innovators. You can't understand what the captain may be aiming at with this bizarre history lesson, but you choose to let him go on in order not to upset him even more. After all, he's recently lost his son. Maybe this is his way of coping. You're an inventor too, aren't you, Huntington? Innovator. You don't like where this conversation is going, and a shiver runs down your spine. You freeze, allowing the captain to take a couple of steps further. You're going to open your mouth and stop this nonsense when I have understood you perfectly. Smith's pipe hits the ground, making you flinch. Your brief dismay is enough for the captain to turn on his heels, drawing his gun with the ease of a true professional. You would be fascinated if the barrel weren't pointed straight at your head. You're working for someone. Who is it? Who wanted to take my son's life? He literally just fucking died, dude! He just passed away! Oh my god! Smith is beside himself, capable of accepting Scott's death, eager to lash out at anyone for the cruel dismissal of his innocent child. Pity that someone is you. Well, first of all, this isn't gonna work out really well. Smith, I know that you're suffering, but you're a soldier, goddammit. You know the price of every battle, and fighting a disease like this is like waging war with no idea which weapons will be effective. Smith's answer to this is pistol whipping you on the left temple, blinding you for a couple seconds. The captain isn't even looking around, as if he doesn't care about the potential consequences of his actions. You realize that right now the captain is well past an irrational thought, and he could actually kill you, so you lunge at him and manage to snatch the gun from his hands. Smith attacks you, going for the throat like a rabid dog, but you are forced to fire at your captain. With a surge of pity, you look at the insane despair etched on the corpse in front of you. Well, then! The shot rang out through the entire port, but no one seems to have heard it. With no witnesses, you should be able to safely report the captain's disappearance. Still, you know that you cannot leave him there like that. You find his body with some heavy chains you find lying about, as you tell yourself again and again that you had no choice. In a profound silence, you throw the captain's corpse into the sea, saying your final goodbye with a military salute. Oof. Oof. God damn. You're disheartened as you keep trying to justify your actions to yourself. Smith was beside himself, but perhaps you could have saved him, somehow bringing him back to reason. You could never help Scott nor soothe your father's rage. Horrified, you contemplated how little an effort it took for you to end the captain's life and get rid of his body. You cross the port again, ghost-like, unable to stop thinking about Smith. You wish you could remember him as you knew him, a hard man, stubborn even, but always fair. However, you cannot shake the image of his eyes filled with hatred, rage, and pain. You climb the plank, troubled by such thoughts. Board the ship alone. A long journey back to London awaits you. Homecoming! The long journey is over, and in front of you lies London. Fumes raise from the chimneys of the houses, filling the sky with a grayish color and that tastes like home. The bitter smell of the city streets, large, efficient factories, the scuttle of horses on the cobbles. You're finally back, and it seems like the city wants to welcome you, embracing you like an exile coming back from a long adventure. These places are green for some reason. You take a carriage and you enjoy every single moment of it on the way home. The Victorian houses offer a spectacular, uninterrupted view, an endless celebration of the greatness of this English city. The nostalgia and melancholy you felt during the last weeks finally become joy and happiness in viewing all the streets and monuments you have loved your whole life. When the carriage stops in front of your house, you are drawn to watch it as it pulls away. It's been so long since you last saw one, it seems different, maybe bigger. You try to embrace reality, entering the house and exploring every corner as if it were the first time you'd been there. You can't help but ask yourself what it's going to be like renewing old habits. Yet while climbing the stairs, painful memories will surface with each step you take. It feels like you're suddenly in one of those nightmares that haunted you in Africa. You stop at the room's edge. Your body is paralyzed with panic and hesitation. You'll never forget that in that very room, your beloved Helen took her very last breath. You sit on the bed. You didn't find the cure for the disease, no matter how much time you spent reading the laboratory or how much help you received from esteemed colleagues and friends. It was the biggest failure of your career and the most painful experience of your life. You can't fail again. The strange African disease has already killed several people, and you couldn't do anything to save them, but you have no intentions of giving up, no matter the cost. This time, you will defeat the disease. You owe it to Helen. The doorbell rings. You leave these thoughts for a moment and go downstairs to open the door. You wonder how anyone might have known of your return so soon. Whilst going downstairs, you see a figure through the frosted glass on the front door. You approach the door, and despite its blurriness, you recognize the person waiting there. It's Meyer. You hesitate, but you decide to open the door. With a polite greeting, the German asks to enter your house, and you can hardly refuse him. The man looks around with curiosity, examining your furniture, and then asks to sit down in the living room. You agree to his request, since this is apparently an ordinary house call, although you notice the suitcase Meyer has with him. Meyer sits down as he continues to examine your furniture, as if he were actually interested in you as a person. The man leaves his suitcase near the armchair and crosses his arms in front of him with unnerving calm before deciding to speak. Huntington, maybe we started out on the wrong foot, and I think you misunderstood my role in Africa. We only seek your help. The German's presence in the middle of this battle at the rebels' camp was undoubtedly a surprise. You're not sure if you can trust him. But you can't decide what to do. We want you to study the disease for us. We know this. We know this, sir. You don't have to repeat information to us. We have a common goal. We would like to find a cure too, and we are sure you are the man with the necessary skills and motivations to find it. Your thoughts turn to Helen and to her agony. If you had help, if someone like Meyer had reached you 1 year ago offering support, you might have done something to save her. A man picks up the suitcase beside him and places it in front of you, opening it with some theatrics. You remain speechless, seeing the contents. Money, more money than you've ever seen. This is only to let you carry on your research in a satisfactory way. I hope it's enough to convince you of our good intentions. Once again, your thoughts wander among several questions. Wasn't this what you wanted? With all of that money, you could start 1, 2, maybe even 5 simultaneous research projects to study the disease and defeat it as soon as possible. How many lives could you save? On the other hand, you don't know Meyer. You know nothing about the organization he belongs to. The man seems elusive and very careful in regard to disclosing information. You don't know whether he is trying to cheat you or whether he wants to, or what he wants in return for such generous economic help. My thought process is that, so you just continue, so like if you just kind of, because you don't know what, so far you're in the good graces of a mysterious man. You should continue to stay in those good graces, until you have to pull the plug. Right, until it's like, oh, okay, this is actually bad, there's no way this could be good, and then you get the fuck out. Right? But, and it's easier to do that if you have been cooperative, if you psychologically put yourself in the ally position, then it's easier to do that. No reason to just leave money on the table. You decide to accept Meyer's offer. There are many peculiarities that surround the German and the people he represents, but his motivations seem noble. Moreover, with this money, you can start your research right away. You could even find a cure quickly and defeat the African disease. You'll see us soon, Mr. Huntington. We want to know the development of our investment. After having said goodbye by raising his hat, Myers heads to the end of the street. When you can no longer see him, you go back into your house, closing the door behind you. Back in the living room, you glance at the suitcases, swallowing your nerves. You wonder whether it was a good idea to accept his offer. We got 8 experience points. God damn. The encounter with Meyer has left you full of doubts and uncertainty. You know nothing about the interests of the people he works for, except for the fact that they, too, are looking for a cure for the African disease. You feel dazed and you need some time to think about it, but you also need some time to rest. Also, I've played D&D, and that was a plot chain if I've ever seen one. What do you mean by a plot chain? Economic aid. We have not done story things as many times as we have done them. As soon as you get to London, Meyer visits you, offering money to continue your research. You have accepted it. You have received a accommodation and recognition for the excellent work you've done as a soldier. Smith's trying to kill you. You accept the money that Meyer has offered. So, we're gonna do medicine. That's the next thing we're gonna do. We're gonna do medicine. You go upstairs trying to ignore the knot in your stomach as soon as you enter the bedroom. You reach the bed and let go of your worries, exhausted and hoping to sleep immediately. The obvious things... Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, things could happen if you... also said no. I don't know what that would be, but I could, like, imagine it could be something. But your hopes are soon denied by bitter insomnia. You stare at the ceiling and toss and turn beneath the bedsheets. While you dwell on the past few weeks, you enlisted and went to Zanzibar, escaping the demons that haunt you. But you have found new ones over the course of the journey. One in particular seems to have invaded both your mind and your nightmares, the disease. A new opportunity has expectedly entered the game. He awaits your next move on the chessboard, whose piece represents the lives of the innocents. You grab a pawn and feel as if you were ready to take them on and challenge the disease. But who can tell whose king will fall first? We finished chapter 1. That was chapter 1. How long is this story? Is there just a whole novel? Am I just offering a free audiobook right now? Is that what's going on? Yeah, the story ends. It's like leaving the manor in Amnesia: The Dark Descent. You know, I've never played the original Amnesia: Dark Descent, Knudsen. But if you like Amnesia: The Dark Descent, there is a God, what is it? It's, fuck. It would be considered a mod, I guess. It's a mod for Amnesia: The Dark Descent called In Lucy's Eyes. And I never played the original, but I played that just so that I could play In Lucy's Eyes, because I think In Lucy's Eyes is a wonderful story. Dear London, Globe Road, London. Through a short time has elapsed since your return, it nonetheless seems like a strange, distant dream. You'll have to look it up. It's real good. And I'm pretty sure that it's like a free mod. Somebody made it and went, here you go. And I like it. I think it's real good. Your house is definitely silent, with only the occasional muffled sound from the world outside penetrating the wall. But in your ears, there are echoes of gunfire and shrill screaming, the screams of injured soldiers and pestilent dying men. Since your return, you have felt an unshakable fatigue, a small conflict, a strange epidemic, and a long voyage. Over the past month, your body is justified in demanding convalences. However, rest alone will not help exturbate the memory of Zanzibar from your conscious and unconscious mind. Confronting this disease seemed your only option to keep the mind busy. I think we should read the diary. I think that will teach us a lot of things. You decided that now is the time to have a better look at Eric's journal. You skim through its pages and you are shocked by the horrors. The young soldier describes human sacrifice, frenzied savages, and a creeping, insidious paranoia which began to infect a small regiment. You gradually start to become morbidly fascinated by the stories he's telling, and you read page after page. Eventually, however, your tiredness creeps on you, and without meaning to, you fall asleep. We're gonna put that in medicine. Slowly try not to spill the tea, which you have already put on your tray. You finish preparing your breakfast, lifting it carefully. You walk to the stairs and start to ascend. You get to the landing and stop suddenly in your tracks when you realize that you have made breakfast for two. Raising your gaze to your bedroom door, you recognize the scene of your reoccurring nightmare. You feel like you know exactly what will happen once you enter the room. You feel queasy, and not wanting to even face such mental anguish, you turn and start to head down the stairs. The moment you take the first step, you notice something under your feet, something dark. Looking down, you can't help but let the tray fall and its contents shatter. There is a river of blood running down the steps. You turn back to your bedroom door to see that the blood is coming from there, streaming under it. Then you hear a rough and distorted voice trying to say something. It is your name. With a scream, you are suddenly awake. You are sitting, your breath is heavy, and your heart is racing. Your blankets are bunched up and damp with sweat. Once again, you have dreamt of hell and suffering from the disease which you encountered in Africa. A sense of guilt in your subconscious is playing cruel tricks on you. You think back to the interminable hours you spent at the university library, eyes strained and bloodshot by the dim, paraffin lights and the reading rooms. Never a hint. The nature of the disease that killed your wife continued to be a mystery long after her death. When Helen died, you had wanted to die too. You even planned it out and decided on the scientifically best method, poison. But once again, it was the thought of Helen that stopped you. You knew it was not what she would have wanted. She would have wanted you to fight back and do everything possible to stop other people dying or having to go through the pain of losing their loved ones. It is the remembrance of this thought that now once again gives you strength and resolve. With a lingering sense of terror from your nightmare, you get up, wash, and get dressed. You need to walk and breathe in fresh air. An old friend. Traversing Mill End, you reach the gleaming white facade of Queen Mary University of London. The time you spent here was intense, and you have mixed emotions seeing it now again. It was home to many pleasurable moments, but also to the anguished final moments you spent obsessively researching before your departure to Zanzibar. You skip the steps at the entrance and go inside. You skip up the steps at the entrance and go inside. The experience seems both old and new at the same time. You walk along the corridors full of voices and students. One of them appears to be in a great hurry and knocks into you painfully as he is hurtling down the hall. Sheets of paper and notebook fly in all directions to the amusement of the various student onlookers who have stopped to observe the scene. Students. Hey Fleming, don't your books teach you how to look where you're going? Don't be a dick. And Fleming hastens to pick up his things. Please, there's no need. Thank you, please. As you return his paper, certain diagrams and formulas catch your eye. They represent rather complex notes of microbiological structures. It's outside that you should be running, boy. Enjoy yourself instead of dashing around here with these notes, which appear to be rather complicated. What's your name? Alexander, sir. Alexander takes back his notes and starts putting them in order. There is an awkward moment as it becomes clear to you that he must go but is trying to figure out how to do it without being rude. There is no time to enjoy myself, sir. I have a whole course to catch up. I must go. Please excuse me and thank you with your permission. He lowers his head and sets off again. In his hurry, he almost knocks into another student who growls at him menacingly. You watch him move off, carrying it distractingly along the corridor like a clumsy blue bottle. Well, I'll be Jake, you old rascal. You suddenly hear your name and immediately recognize the deep and cheerful tone of the voice saying it. You turn to see Reginald Chambers. Reginald Chambers' sprightly face welcoming you with a wide, playful grin. Reginald is a professor of pharmacology and the closest thing you ever had to a friend in your years at the institution. Dude, my life has been shit. Reginald, old boy, what's happening? What's happened to you? Is the university wearing you out? You look thin. Alexander Fleming, a young student at London University, a bit awkward. He looks like the typical target for bullies, and yet he looks like a very promising boy. Corpulent and cheerful professor at London University, one of the few friends you still have at home. He has known you for years and often worries rightly for your physical and mental health. The Queen Mary University of London, a historical institute of British medicine students. This is where you receive your professional education. Reginald claps his belly and grins. At nearly 20 stones, his ample bulk rarely goes unnoticed. You know how it is, Jake. These students suck you dry, and since the retirement of Betty from the university canteen, I'd say your old friend Reginald has lost a couple of pounds. Reginald releases a deep, loud Cashington, which fills the air all around. Tell me about you, though. What news of distant Zanzibar? Reginald, I'm not here on a social call, and I could really use your help. In Zanzibar, I came across a very nasty disease. Something new and completely unknown. I'm headed to the library to find out more. Reginald looks at you seriously for once. He remembers well the time you spent in the library, obsessed with Helen's illness. The Queen Mary Library overwhelms you with its particular odor, a mix of old paper, paraffin from the lamps, and a slight must of mud. I don't think that's how you say that word. You start refamiliarizing yourself and walk around until you come to the microbiology section where a dark-skinned servant is busy arranging books. You find some potentially relevant volumes, but you are unsatisfied. Then your gaze falls on a stack of books that a man is arranging nearby. They seem ideal for your research. The man notices you looking at the pile and gives you a nod of permission. You add them to the books you are already carrying and hasten to the central table where Reginald is waiting. Jake, old boy, what do you intend to do with all these tomes? No, wait, I don't want to know. Whatever your intentions are, I have no wish to deal with them on an empty stomach. Let's go to the pub and get something in our bellies. Unlike the library, the entrance to your old pub has a Salberous effect on you. It hasn't changed in the slightest since your last visit, and the tartan furniture is comfortably worn. through in all the same places. You follow Reginald to your usual table where you used to spend long hours discussing and hypothesizing various scientific theories. A barmaid comes over to take your order. "Oh, Shirley, look who I've brought along." Shirley puts her hand on her hips and throws you a warm smile. "The old partners are back together then. I need not ask what old Reggie wants, but what shall I bring you, Jake?" As soon as Shirley was off, you are pilling onto the table some of the volumes that you took from the library. As you are doing so, you realize that one of them is not even a medical book at all. It seems very curious to you because you were quite sure that you had recalled all the titles before taking them. Charming waitress at the bar that you and Reginald often used to visit in the past. Apparently, she knows your friend so well she doesn't have to ask for his order. It seems to be a text on ancient Egyptian myth. Fickling through it with some curiosity, you come to a page which has been bookmarked with a thin red ribbon there. Staring at you is a symbol, an eye. There can be no question, it is almost identical to the symbol encountered in your adventures. It is merely an odd coincidence, or is there some sort of hidden connection? A flurry of interrogatives occupy your thoughts. An old book on Egyptian myths. A ribbon is used as a bookmark on a page with the drawing of a weird-looking eye. I think I'm going to do observation next. Realizing that Reginald is observing you with a puzzling expression, you put the book back with the others and start telling him about the things you saw in Zanzibar. Horrors. Bad. You begin to catch up with the fever of your tale, but while your jovial friend keeps smiling all the while, his eyes begin to show a growing concern. A polite cough makes you raise your heads from your study. Shirley has returned carrying 2 big plates and looks at you with some consternation. Eventually you realize what she wants and you clear some space on your table for your meal. Reginald launches himself at his food, but you only glance at the enormous steak and chips on your plate before returning to the paragraph you were reading. There's a description of a certain skin rash that you are particularly interested in. Let me see if you've got this right. This disease causes fever, weeping sores, and ocular hemorrhaging. The poor victims bleed from all these sores, and they weep with blood. I can only imagine the smell of their body's malification. Nodding, you notice a couple just behind Reginald. The woman pushes away her plate, and the man stops midair with a fork full of food. Reginald's loud description has clearly and understandably ruined their appetite. The same cannot be said for Reginald himself, who is polishing off the last few mouthfuls of his meal and washing it down with an enormous gulp from his mug of ale. I read about something similar just the other day. Some research by a microbiologist called Martinus Bjornic, describing a disease. Yeah. It was the scientific appendix of the Standard, one of last week's edition. Although he doesn't work on humans, Martinus has done a series of studies that are apparently close to understanding the true nature of certain diseases. They are said to be discoveries that will change medicine completely. As much as a Dutchman can be, I suppose. If you're asking me, I think he's just after fame. I'd have to say no. He's a botanist and microbiologist of some renown, and his studies have been garnering a great deal of interest in the scientific community lately. We're gonna go with observation. Well, I may still have a copy in my office, otherwise we can easily find another in the university library. You hurriedly collect up all the books from the table, paid the bill, leaving a generous tip for Shirley, and set off along the road, all the while admonishing Reginald to quicken his pace. After rereading the article several times, you conclude that Bjornik's theories might very well explain various aspects of disease in general, and this one specifically. This article, however, seems to deliberately omit important information. You inform Reginald of this, who is observing you intently. At this point, I think we should try and speak to Bjornik himself. Bring Reginald in. I do not want to disappoint you, but it's not as easy as you might think. Martinus Bjornik lives in Delft, in Holland. Ask for his advice. Reginald looks at you and reflects. He's somewhat surprised by your sense of urgency. After a moment, he shrugs. Then we're going to Holland, of course. You're already headed towards the door mentally to go through what you need to set off, but then you realize your friend has stopped behind you. You turn to see Reginald stroking his chin, looking at you thoughtfully. The journey will be long and expensive. Are you sure about this? Maybe we should go to the bank before leaving. There is no need. I have everything we need. Meet me at the port. You are walking with Reginald near the Thames, watching his face, wincing comically at its terrible smell. The area around the docks is utter chaos, and it's not easy to avoid collisions in the jostle mayhem. Reginald is holding his bag to his chest and constantly on the lookout for gangs of dirty, ragged street urchins. You can't help but compare it to the port of Zanzibar, but quickly decide that here in London it is far less civilized and more chaotic. Finally, you have freed yourself from the crowd and made it to the shipping office. You tell Reginald to wait for you with the luggage while you go and buy the tickets. Ticket seller, good morning. How can I help you? Good morning. I'd like 2 tickets for a passenger ship to the Netherlands, please. Oh, shit. That's fine. You need not concern yourself with the price. The amount you were given by the German is more than enough. You and Reginald walk carefully up the narrow creaking gangway onto the ship's deck. Turning back to look at the docks, you have a strange feeling of seeing London as already in the distance, as if the couples of yards were already hundreds of miles. There are a series of sailors' shouts from around, and the ship set sail for Rotterdam. You've traveled on a luxurious ship in an excellent cabin. We live in the good life. Not really. Very helpful sailor accompanies you below deck to show you your berths. The Mary Rose 2 is a nice little ship that will allow for an agreeable and comfortable voyage. The sailor leaves you and Reginald in the cabin. I think you made a mistake. If you really need to know, I have 2 very good reasons to be here. Your friend smiles warmly and grabs his stomach. This here wants to try some new food. I haven't had a proper adventure since I was a student at the university, and I don't know how much longer I'd be able to have them. Reginald laughs heartily. You look at him, wanting to hear his second reason. Secondly, Jake, you don't seem to me to be any sorts of condition to deal with all this alone. I'm afraid you just end up doing something daft. It seems to me from the symptoms that you have described to be a strain of plague, but with many, perhaps too many, incongruous details. Maybe it will turn out to be a new type of bacterium, or perhaps something else. New theories are always emerging in our area of study. You nod in agreement. This is why it's so important to speak to Bjornik. Rotterdam is a very lovely place. Have you been there, Knudsen? How was it besides lovely? Because I swear to God, if you tell me it was lovely... Do I tell him about this? No, we don't. Before getting some rest, let's eat some of this food brought by that uniformed girl just now. Reginald uncovers a big silver platter and releases a cloud of wonderful smelling steam. For once, you decide to join your gourmand dancing companion in his repast before settling down into your comfortable bunk. Okay, so we have 14. I think we might want to do speechcraft after this. It's a more chill version of Amsterdam, also wooden clogs. Wooden clogs look so fucking uncomfortable. Like, I look at that and my feet go, oh, my little baby feet. More chill version of Amsterdam. You know, Newton, I have not traveled outside of the continental United States ever. So. I couldn't tell you anything about Amsterdam. I don't even... Amsterdam is in the country of Germany? I say that with a really constipated face. You can't see it, but like, oh, it's real constipated about that. You have to get tailored wooden clogs for them to be comfortable. It's very interesting, but my feet really don't like that idea. They're very upset about wooden clogs existing. Once more, and for the whole trip, sleep refuses to treat you kindly. You can't stop thinking of Zanzibar, of Meyer, and of the disease. Every train of thought breeds new mysteries. You can only hope that Brzurnik can give you answers to these questions, which are driving you mad. Opening your eyes, the first thing you find is Reginald. He's reading a book and chewing something. He smiles when he sees you are awake. He is about to speak to you when there is a loud ringing. The ship is entering Rotterdam port. Okay, we only have 20. The coach driver shouts something to you in a hard German accent, and you look out of the carriage window. You are finally leaving Rotterdam behind, and after a while you make out the first signs of the outskirts of Delft. With the money given to you by the Germans, you have no trouble finding great lodging near the university. It is a fine building, and Reginald is already at the window, scoping the best spots to eat. There are indeed various places on both sides of the canal. Since you're feeling excited as if you started some pleasurable holiday, you decided to relax and enjoy the moment rather than dwell on the reality of being caught up in the complex web of intrigue and mysteries. You unpack and organize a few things you brought with you, and while Reginald takes care of the formalities related to your accommodations, you decide to go straight to university to try and see Brzurnik. As you leave, you close the door behind you. It does not seem very solid. Having studied a map of Delft, you know it's pretty straightforward to get to the university from where you're studying. You walk a few streets and find yourself at the steps leading up to the college. He shows you the office of Dr. Martinius Brzurnik. You are in such a state of agitation that you feel almost as if you are a teenager about to go on a first date. Damn. This is gonna be a sexy date. Talking about diseases. Also coffee shops. Both are in the Netherlands. Okay. That makes you said the thing and I'm like, yeah, no, that's definitely where Amsterdam is. Also coffee shops and a bunch of experimental architecture. Nice. Is it like modern experimental architecture or like more artsy experimental architecture, because I feel like artsy experimental architecture is a lot older. And I mean, there's like artsy experimental architecture like now, but like it's different. It's very different. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have some more water, because I had to chug like half a mug of coffee at the end of work so that I could leave. Because I'm not gonna throw that shit down the drain. Mm-mm. Some swing and some miss. I do not like modern architecture. I hate it so much. I can't begin to even tell you. Well, I mean, I guess I could, but like, I don't like it. I see it and I go hate. But also, maybe that's because I hate American modern architecture, right? You knock and enter the office. Professor Bjornek recognized you and immediately welcomes you in warmly. As soon as I heard your English accent, I knew who you were. The professor offers to give you a tour of the college and you take the opportunity to see the laboratory where you will be working together and exchanging ideas over the following days. Bjornek is friendly, but he is clearly avoiding talking about the reason why you are here. Professor Bjornek's quintessence continues to exasperate you over the days that follow. Every morning, you make your way to the laboratory where you spend a few hours with him or alone when he has lectures. You study various diseases and discuss theories together without ever explicitly discussing that disease. Is this Lord Voldemort that we cannot speak about it? Every time you bring it up, Bjornek immediately changes the subject. But since it's clear that much of the research that you are doing has many things in common with the African disease, you decide not to force the issue for now. Okay. Delft is very spread out. Good lord. You could put a whole fucking farm right here. Dutch microbiologist tenured at the University of Delft. The research he's working on seems to have some common points with yours. Perhaps his studies could help you find out more about this mysterious illness. What would that be? The Space Needle or like square box houses? So if you're talking about specifically my problems, it's more that, like, our, like, construction quality is in the fucking toilet. God damn. Right? Like, just from, like, a sturdiness perspective, what the fuck, guys? It's like, it's fucking, like, it's fucking terrible the price that you pay for, like, the amount of sturdiness you get. It's awful. So from just, like, a pure, like, structural integrity standpoint, I hate it. And then just, like, everything's the same and fucking awful. Like, it's just as, like, we have, like, one design, and it's like hospital. It is hospital room design. And then the other thing is that we have, like, 3 whole color palettes that you can choose from, and most of them are on the grayscale. They fucking kill me. God damn. Your time in Delft is fast beginning to follow a routine. Reginald often comes with you to the laboratory, but most of the time he wanders around the city enjoying its culinary traditions, which he gives you enthusiastic nightly reports. Man, Reginald sounds really cool. Sometimes you go out with him to eat, but you often have a strange and unpleasant feeling that you are being watched. You try a traditional stumppot, which Reginald has been ranting about for days. Bajornek is busy at the university, and Reginald is away for a few days visiting the Haju? Which is not very far away. Once again, you are feeling observed. When you look behind you, there is nothing, or perhaps only a shadow. Then you notice someone sitting a few tables away dressed very stylishly. He is brazenly staring at you, Meyer. You move over to where Meyer is sitting. Dr. Huntington, what a pleasure. Will you join me for supper? Once seated, a few moments pass in silence. He is measured and calm. He seems to be toying with you. Dr. Huntington, we are satisfied with your decision to collaborate with Bajornek and the steady progress being made. Certain details, however, interest us in particular. He is looking at you straight in the eye. His smiling coolness betrays disquietly undertones, and every word seems to contain a veiled threat. We have eyes and ears everywhere, Mr. Huntington. But it is not enough. We are required to return on our investment. No final results as yet, rather an update on the current state of your research. You feel repugnance at his menacing tone. However, having accepting their money, you can hardly back out now. Speechcraft. Hello, Donovan. What is up with you, dude? Rotterdam is different. I like the Marthal. It's a giant 2-tunnel with apartments in the walls and a roofed outdoor market in the tunnel. I'm having a hard time picturing that, I'm not gonna lie. A pathological agent smaller than a bacterium. The idea is disturbing, but the research that you and Barnock have been conducting on sick tobacco leaves continues to form this seemingly absurd hypothesis. Bajornik already has a chosen name for it. Virus. We're discovering viruses! Wonderful. Just looking at electronic drum kits and some guitars. Nice, nice, nice. It seems almost more like a machine in the way it reproduces, attacking cells and using them to multiply than a biological organism. Many of the animal loss aspect have troubled you since Zanzibar are beginning to make some sort of sense. Thank you. Your research has come to a critical phase, and Bajornek is invigorated and beginning to show some emotions for the first time. I think the time has finally come for our discoveries to be made public, Dr. Huntington. The world of medicine will never be the same. Bajornek has started the process of publication, but it will take some time before it is verified and peer-reviewed. You decide to use this time for a short break. Hydrate? Okay. Goddamn! I'm gonna have to piss in like 30 minutes or something. Much hydration. We have just 8. Okay, that's fine. You carry out studies and experiments with Martinus Bajornek until you discover the existence of the virus. However, Bajornek never wanted to talk about the illness you've encountered in Zanzibar, despite the reason you got in touch. Why is that? You have recently been taking long reflexive walks around Delft, trying to tally the results of your research with the pathology of the East African disease. Chief among your current concerns is resolving the question and means of transmission and spread of the so-called virus. Despite spending time at the epicenter of this disease, you have had no symptoms, or at least not the type that you could observe there. Could this mean that the mysterious virus has a different effect on different people? Perhaps a single virus can give rise to different diseases. Knowing what I know about viruses, I'm very interested to know if he has gotten immunity, right? As you are wandering near the cathedral thinking about these strains of puzzles, you come across a small boy selling newspaper. Something catches your eye on the front page, and so you buy a copy. You have only learned a few words and expressions in Dutch, so you can't really understand the article properly, but you do understand that is an article about you and Bajornak's research. Skimming the article, you see it mentions the university, the professors, and some of his colleagues. There's no trace of your name, however. It is certainly puzzling. Why would Bajornak have kept your name out of the reports? What motivation could he have had? It's very strange, because you would have never taken him for an opportunist. Publishes the results of your research, but he didn't let your name and your contributions be known. Why would he do that? Why would you do this, sir? Then there's the questions of Zanzibar. Since the moment you first arrived, the professor has continuously avoided the subject, despite using ideas and evidence gleaned from your experiences. You haven't once discussed it openly. The colors of Delft soften as the shadow lengthens and evening falls. As you walk back to your lodging, you reflect on what your next move will be. Entering the apartment, you immediately smells Reginald's cooking. You fall into an armchair and tell your friend that you aren't hungry. Your appetite has been ruined by this discovery. You are mulling over plausible explanations when there is a knock at the door. Who is it? I am looking for Dr. Huntington. You recognize the voice. It's Maya. Reginald turns to look at you questioningly, but you are already on your feet and moving closer to the door. We're gonna do this one. What do you want from me now? If I can have a few minutes, I merely wanted to relay a message. Yet again, you refuse his request. Reginald takes a knife from the kitchen and comes closer to the door, but Meyer has gone silent, and the small slip of paper is pushed under the door. I do not wish to disturb you. I have left my messages here. Good evening to you. Get the tickets. We have spoken with Bergerac, and he understood that it was necessary to leave your name out of the press reports. We hope you will too. Please leave this city and avoid any further contact with the professor. You have conducted most satisfactorily the work for which you were financed. Meyer leaves, giving you no chance to reply. It seems your German backers giving Bergerac no choice but to leave you out of the publications of your results. Reginald agrees with you. You are left frustrated and angry. Ignore them, old boy. Yes, you will. You ignore their... Oh shit, we're getting raided. Goddamn. Hello, Cog and Raiders. What did you guys do? We're here for coins and chaos. Don't mind us as we check your couch for coins and leave little slimes here and there. That's disgusting. How dare you? Guys, if you don't know Cog, follow him. He does things and stuff. Just playing Grounded. Is that a new game? That sounds familiar, but I'm not 100% sure. Also, hello Raiders, I am Donnie, I do stuff and things, and today our stuff and things is we're doing a little story time. Just to do a little recap so that you're not completely lost, we're a doctor whose wife died, Helen. Goodbye, Helen. She died of a disease that we could not ourselves cure, so we, in our depression state, joined the military. This is taking place in the Victorian time, by the way. So we enlisted in the military, we went to Zanzibar, we encountered a very similar disease. Some German man is, like, being weird to us, but also gave us money, so that we could research the disease. Excuse me, I've been reading for like an hour. So I'm so sorry. Just give me a second while I fucking pass away. Okay. But we were in the army. The army was like, hey, there's this weird African disease. Please, like, go research it. We sort of researched it in the field. One of our companions died, Ryan. An Italian who could make a mean meal. Rip Ryan. We feel sad that we could not save Ryan. We could not save our commanding officer's son either. He died. So even though we had all these failures, we were, like, given a medal success for doing things and stuff, I guess. So then we were like, hey, we'd like to return to London. We returned to London. On our voyage to return to London, we had to kill our commanding officer because he tried to kill us. Because he's real mad that we didn't save his son. Whoopsie doodles. And then upon returning to London, we received money from the weird German who, like, keeps popping in and out and being weird to us. Very weird. We met up with an old colleague. We went to the Netherlands. We discovered viruses. Viruses are a thing now. And we have just been told that our name will not be put in the research for reasons. For reasons. And it's been out for a bit. They just announced Grounded 2. That might be what I'm remembering. You will ignore their warning and speak to Bergernik first thing tomorrow morning. Parasite agent. Opening your eyes, you are immediately filled with determination. You are going to confront Dr. Bergernik and find out exactly why he was compelled to do what he did. That's a lot of lore. Listen, we're in, like, the middle of this. I feel like this is, like, this game is a whole fucking novel. I feel like I'm doing an audiobook. You have breakfast quickly and consider what you will need to assert your position. The words alone will not suffice. You pick up your briefcase. You are comforted by the weight of the paper inside. It contains the only real tangible proof of all your work you have done together and of your relationship with the professor. Clasping it tightly, you leave the flat. You are walking to Bergernik's house. You go over and over in your mind the words you will use to explain your position. Although the general idea remains the same, you make some mental edits until you come up with the best possible phrasing for what you want to say. Reaching his house, you pass 3 young men laughing and joking around on the street outside. They look like 3 friends returning from a night of rivalry. Remembering times like those, you smile and feel a little envious. Nothing wrong with good story-style games. There is not. I'm enjoying this. I really like these types of books. Yeah. I really like these types of books that kind of take place within this time. Like, people would pick these up and be like, oh, these are really boring or whatever, but I really enjoy them. It doesn't seem like I would, but I highly enjoy them. You straighten your coat in front of the door and knock. A butler calls for Bergernik, but when he comes to the door, his face carries an expression of bewilderment. Good morning, who are you? I myself am a little bit, I don't think that he would make fun of you. Hello, Dark, thank you for the lurk. What do you mean to say you don't know me? Bergernik appears in earnest, even somewhat irate. I am sorry, sir, but I am quite sure that I have never met you in my life. There must be some misunderstanding, if you please. I am a very busy man. The butler and another servant approach, and the doctor pushes you lightly towards the door as if shooing away some kind of annoying insect. You turn your body and try to wedge yourself there before the door can close. You must try and speak with Bernac. It cannot end like this. Persuade? Damn it. Why don't you remember Zanzibar, the disease? You try to explain some of what has happened, but only disconnected words spill out. The doctor interrupts you briskly. I do not enjoy being pounced upon by a madman in my own home. Please remove yourself or I shall have to call the police. Well then, that did not work out. At all. As he is speaking with help from his butler and another servant, he pushes you towards the door and closes it behind you. You stare at the closed door. You realize that it would have been pointless to insist and knock again. If Bergerac has answered, you certainly won't get them through force. Confused, you head to your flat. Bergerac has appeared sincere in his reaction. Could he be telling the truth? Have all the previous months been in your head? You clutch the briefcase to your chest firmly. No, here is the tangible and unequivocal evidence that you are not going crazy. Perhaps the only proof that you have left, in fact. You have been walking lost in thought for some time when you suddenly catch a movement out of the corner of your eye. Turning, you see it's 3 men you had seen outside Bergerac's house. Is it possible that you are being followed? You stop at a newspaper stand to be interested in the papers to gauge their reaction. They also stop nearby, and once you start walking again, they do too. There is no coincidence. Over the months you have spent working with Bergerac, you have had ample opportunity to get to know your way around Delph. Now you decide to use this knowledge to your advantage. You will try to lose them, or else lead them into a situation where you can confront them more easily. Posture check, no shrimping. I kind of feel like Donna was conned by a failed novelist into reading his or her microfiction, or macrofiction. No, that's micro. Listen, I'm enjoying myself, Nutzen. You not enjoying yourself? I don't know where that German accent came from, but it came from somewhere. I'm curious to know what's going on, but I also feel like I'm gonna get bit, right? Like, it's one of those things where, like, this is a strange animal, I've never seen it before, I want to touch it, but also you might get bit in some way, shape, or form. We might get bit. We might get bit. You are persuaded that you can deal with the situation alone, and so you decide to lead the fight to a spot which will give you an advantage. You stop at a place near a canal and then wait, proceeding to be distracted by something. Oh! As one of the 3 men approaches you from behind, he tries to grab you by the neck, but you were ready and catch him off his weight so that he lunges forward towards the water. However, he manages to catch a canal railing, and one of his companions goes over there to help him up. This leaves you facing only the 3rd man. You carefully observe your opponent. All of his weight is on his left leg, and he is attacking mostly with his right arm. You dodge 2 punches, then kick him hard in the side of his left knee. He falls screaming to the ground as he clutches his leg, his sleeve pulled up, and you catch a glimpse of the tattoo in the shape of an eye. The other 2 men are returning from the edge of the canal, and you suddenly decide there is no way you can take them both now, so you make your escape. We made our escape! Hallelujah! Praise Jeebus. You have surprised them, but after a few seconds, all 3 men are chasing you. You rush through the city streets, hoping to outrun them. A strange wrist tattoo. You've seen it before in Zanzibar. It's certainly no coincidence. Self tattoo. After confronting Bergerac, 3 men assault you in the streets of Delph. All 3 had the same tattoo resembling an eye. Wonderful. We have... I'm not sure which one we want here. I might do observation maybe, but for now we're good. Now that you have succeeded in gaining a little ground on these men chasing you, it's time to think of a strategy for getting away from them. Take the refuge of the cathedral. You reach the square of the cathedral and immediately run inside, but so do the men following you. Luckily, though, there is a mass and the church is full of people. You move more slowly among the faithful, trying to be as conspicuous as possible. After a while, you see that 3 men had given up and gone away. You wait for a while to be sure, and then head back to your flat. When you finally reach the front of the door, you are still out of breath. You manage to escape, but feel far from safe. You burst open the door and stride into the flat. Although you immediately feel safer, you lock and bolt the door. There is no time for complacency. Reginald is startled by your agitation. Jake, what is it? You're scaring me. You get your breath back and reassure your friend. You decide not to tell him about the men following you. It would only distract him from your current priority, the lack of evidence of your research before the scientific community. And you must decide today where to start. We have the paper, so why not? I don't think that talking with him is going to help. After weighing it up, you determine that the best thing to do now is to appeal directly to Dell's scientific and medical community. Thus, you return to the university and meet with the rector, von Vermeer, who in turn arranges a meeting with the medical board the same afternoon. Carefully kept the notes. Nice. We kept the notes. These are good things. You are feeling nervous and on edge about presenting your case in front of all these state and suspicious professors. It takes you back to your student days, and although you do have the strength of your convictions, the accusing attitudes of these men makes you feel strangely guilty. You begin recounting your side of the story regarding Bernick's research, explaining your discoveries in Zanzibar and their role in the subsequent results of your collaboration. You close with an account of the bizarre encounter with Bernick after the publication of your work. Dr. Huntington, these allegations of yours are most serious, Dr. Bernick, who is not with us here today, denies not only your involvement, but even that he knows you. Why exactly would a microbiologist be working with a doctor on this kind of research? Do you have any evidence to support your various events? Finally, you will be able to dissolve the cold skepticism which you are facing. You open your case and start showing them the copies of your notes. Those notes prove nothing, Doctor. With little scientific knowledge and medical competence, you may easily have written them after reading Bernick's recent article. Moreover, why would our esteemed microbiologist have had the need to contact a local doctor? Now the professors are beginning to mutter among themselves in consideration, and you are left speechless. You did not expect the authenticity of your notes to be challenged. Is it clear that you, in some ways, led them to this doubt? But maybe you can still convince them. You have the ability for more speechcraft. You do. I'm gonna try speechcraft. Please, gentlemen, we are all scientists here. Instead of making assumptions, I would like you to examine the empirical evidence well. Please take a good look at these notes before drawing your conclusions. One of the professors nearest you takes the papers you are holding out and looks at them carefully before passing them to von Vermeer. These papers may have been procured in various ways. You could even stolen them for all we know. This is not tantamount proof of your testimony. Van Meer's decisive influence on this assembly leaves little room for doubt. It is clear that you are not going to succeed. But you were at least able to plant a seed of uncertainty in the minds of the first professors who saw your notes, and he regards you now with a look of silent comprehension. You decide to leave the pompous fools and head to the laboratory. Rector at the University of Delft, he had dismissed your accusations against Bernek with a rather suspicious urgency, but he has a very strong influence of the other professors who are judging your accusations. You arrive at the laboratory. Nobody is currently using it, and so the door is locked. You try, without success, to force it open. On closer inspection, it seems that the door has been reinforced following a recent break-in. But you will not be deterred so easily. Talk to one of the professors. You retrace your steps along the corridor until you come to where the professors are still mulling around the entrance at the hall. You spot the professor who at least gave you the benefit of the doubt. Also, hello, Never. What is up with you, dude? Also, thank you for the lurk. Waiting until he is alone, you go to him and tell him that you need to get to the laboratory. After only a moment's hesitation, he leads you to his office, where he gives you his copy of the keys. You lost an item. Getting to the laboratory door, you check that no one is watching and slip the key in the lock and enter. Looking around, something gives you a strange sensation. You know that the laboratory has been closed since you and Bergerac finished your research, and he began writing up your results. Yet all around you there are unmistakable signs that the laboratory is still in use. On closer investigation, you notice that the test tubes contain more or less the same samples and chemicals that you had been using. Someone is carrying on with your research. You know that it can't be Bergerac, busy as he has been with the publications, nor any of the laboratory technicians who have long been reassigned to other senior researchers. You cannot comprehend who could be doing your research, nor why. You can feel an air rise once again. You have been cheated out of months of arduous work, and your results have been made appropriate. You must make them stop. But suddenly there is a noise behind you. Someone is noticed in your presence. Two large burly men, perhaps from the campus security, grab you and unceremoniously throw you out in the main entrance. The rector is waiting for you there. Dr. Huntington, I must inform you that if you ever dare to show your face here again, you won't even get a foot inside. You walk away hesitantly from the university. You know full well that your connection with this place is over forever. Forever. No more. You must now think of an alternate strategy. In a fit of rage, you have been tempted to destroy the lab where you and Bergerac connected your resources, but you resented. You have made inquiries, and now you have an appointment with the Grote Mark, the market square, with a group of journalists. You have decided that the best solution is to put the whole situation into the public domain, even at the risk of creating a scandal. There are only 5 journalists present, and they give you looks which betray their different peering approaches. 2 of them seem curious, the others very skeptical. You recount the facts of the case, and you can see that for many of them the story, albeit true, seems unappealing. Do you have any evidence? I'm not going up against those professors without something solid. They'd have us for breakfast. You open up and pick up your briefcase without saying a word and begin to pass the papers around the journalists. Suddenly, they are all smiles. Even the skeptics appear to have warmed to the news. It looks like the good stuff. I don't understand any of it, though. It might as well be hieroglyphics. And for all we know, you could have stolen them from Bergerac. After the last words, you see a change in the journalists' attitudes. Even Those who initially seemed curious appear doubtful, perhaps a little frightened. Something, however, keeps your eyes on them as they walk off, particularly something in the behavior of the journalist who so rudely challenged you. There's something odd about his attitude. At one point, he turns to look at you, smiles, and makes a gesture with his hand to indicate that you're crazy. His mouth is laughing, but his eyes are not. Rather, they are watching you carefully. You are suddenly aware that there is something military-like about his bearing. He definitely doesn't carry himself like a journalist. He is as an ex-soldier yourself, you recognize when someone is pretending to be a civilian. It seems you cannot make any progress whatsoever, neither here nor from the public opinion in general. It would be a while yet before the consequences of what you and Bergerac discover become known to the public, and you obviously can't wait around for something like that to happen. You are disappointed and angry. You have been mocked and ridiculed. How can you possibly put up with such a situation? With this thought in your mind, you leave the market square. Okay. So not much else has happened. But I am going to stop reading. Otherwise, my face is going to fall off of my f***ing face. Actually, wait a minute. I'll go past this page. Okay. Now we are going to go to the main menu. Yeah. Okay. But let's see who we can raid. So, we've got Final Fantasy X, we've got Plant Crafter, we've got, Art, and we've got that. We've also got P celebrating his streamversary, but he's also doing a mukbang, and I don't really fucking like those. So, I mean, I'm not going to not give you the option to do that. I'm just gonna be like, hey P, I hate this, goodbye. So what do you guys want to see? I'm not hearing any opinions, so let's go to Planet Crafter. But there is our raid message. Thank you guys so much for coming to stream, and I will see you all next time. Bye!